Look how far we've come, all the things we've done. Did it all with love, beauty from the bottom up. All I want is you, you're my favorite view. But there's nothing new, girl, you made my heart beat.
And we are back.
We are back, bumble bitches.
This is the first Friday episode of season 3.
And it's 11:11.
It is.
The time is.
I know.
Okay.
The audio, because of these headphones, we can hear what's coming through because normally we don't know. I hate this.
Yeah.
It's so distracting. We have a video that created a very long discussion, a bunch of discussions that I want to play. We'll play it once and then we'll stop it, close it, and then we'll have a full-on discussion about communication. Before we get into this, I want to touch on a couple things. One, I believe this was for views. I don't believe that it was a real fight.
The TikTok?
Yep.
Okay.
Anytime there is a phone set up in a car and it's being recorded to TikTok and there's conversations happening or a camera set up, regardless of it being an influencer or somebody with a big following or not, I don't believe that it's real. I believe that it is 100% done for the entertainment of the people watching the TikToks to get comments, to get views, to get likes, whatever. It's bullshit. And I think that most people aren't smart enough to realize that that's actually what's happening. With that being said, the video ends with her breaking up with her boyfriend. So knowing that that's where this video is going, there is no intent on her part for clear communication, resolution of conflict, because she knew what the resolution was going to be.
Right.
That it was going to be her breaking up. So the acting out, or however you want to word that, of the way that she portrayed herself in this video is just that. I just don't think that this is real. And if this is the way that she acts all the time, it's no wonder that her relationship is over.
Right.
That being said, we can talk about like the ins and outs of the video afterwards, but I needed to get that out first. I would also like to point out that when you watch this video, it's clipped. So even in the event that he was responding to her or there was a back and forth, you don't see that. You see the cuts where time was cut out to make the video look the way the video looks. It's been edited. It's not just a free-flowing tirade. The other thing is the comment section. And the comment section for me is the biggest. As you get people who are influencers, 500,000, million, 2 million followers or more, that get on TikTok and present a certain facade, younger people who think that that's reality will start to pick up those behavior patterns and replicate them. It's no different than young men seeing the hero in the movie and then going out and pretending to be the hero afterwards. You see enough of that, it becomes a part of your reality. You never see healthy conversations in terms of conflict in a movie. It's always dramatic. There's chairs being thrown, there's screaming and yelling, somebody's punking somebody down. Like, it's a whole fucking production because it's drama and it's meant to be that way. You will not see healthy conflict resolution in a movie ever because it's not entertaining, right? Unless they're trying to be sad. And if the goal is to make you cry, then they'll bring it down and make it tearful, right? Okay. So now that we got all of that out of the way,
you're the only girl I care about.
No, you may not, Passenger Princess, because I was not finished speaking. And don't you even try to say, like, oh, it's not like that. I've known them 10 years. They're like a sister to me. Then why are you liking your sister's thirst trap, perv? And miss me with the, oh, I'm just so used to doing it. I don't even pay attention. I just like it and keep scrolling. It's not that deep. If it's not that deep to you, and you know how it makes me feel, then why would you jeopardize this relationship that you claim to care so much about? Would you go up to her in front of me and say, oh, I like what I see? No, you wouldn't. So then why are you doing that for to see? Whoa. And you've offered no other than, oh, well, it won't happen again.
Is that better? Can you hear me again?
I can hear you, yeah.
All right. We just lost our mixer, so I'm going to fucking... All right, so let's finish with the thing. Let's finish it.
Oh, I'll just delete the app. Please save me the drama. I need to know that you can see these pictures that are tempting you that bad and know that you can refrain from liking them out of respect for me. But if this is the third offense, that tells me that this behavior is not going to change and you're just going to get better at hiding it. With every picture you liked, with every girl you followed, with every girl you were a little too flirty with at work, that pushed me farther and farther away from you. And all I needed was that last straw, and you just gave it to me.
Are you being serious?
Yes. So get out. Give me my yogis.
Wow.
Okay, so let's be real, right? That was absolutely scripted.
Yeah.
That was planned.
Yes. If not planned, definitely deleted, re-recorded, deleted, re-recorded.
Right.
There were some technical issues that happened, but I counted 9 cuts there.
Yeah. If you and I were in conflict
Yeah.
and I took your food out of your hand, would you allow that to happen?
No.
Right? Because you're in defense mode.
That also hung me up on that. I was hung up on that. Because, no, don't touch me right now.
Right.
I don't want you in my vicinity right now.
So now that we realize that this is what it is, it's for entertainment purposes. I did view the comments because this was shared to our chat, and I went through and I looked, and the comments are atrocious.
Yeah.
They're just cheerleading this behavior. I'm taking these off. I can't stand wearing headphones.
Okay.
Knowing that was purely for entertainment, and knowing that young people are going to watch that and think that that is okay behavior. Everything in that video is a breakdown of communication. There's name calling.
Yes.
There's animated behavior. There's posturing. There's a lot. Nothing there speaks to healthy communication. Now, I understand, again, stated previously, that she was not trying to come to conflict resolution. The end point of that was her breaking up with the guy, right? That's what it appeared to happen.
Right.
So there's no reason to be calm, cool, collected. Of course, they were ending, so she could have screamed and yelled and hoorah'd all she wanted. I disagree with that. I think that even in a breakup, you can be amicable and you can talk to somebody with respect. I think that getting animated, name calling, getting loud, yelling, screaming, smashing your
Blaming.
dashboard, whatever, is a choice. And I believe some of that is actually abusive. And I believe that it's used to manipulate in like an emotional
Gain
terrorism
control.
type of thing. So being that if this was her actual behavior and the breakup, it would indicate to me.
Fuck.
Did you just roll your ankle?
Yes.
Is your thing here?
No.
So many you. Can't hear again. Oh, yeah. Hello, Zach. Her screeching made me tune her out. Even her clothes. She's just yelling and talking at him. No fucks given about his perspectives. So much cleavage for one internet video. She's talking at him, not to him. There's a lot of that. I understand again that this was entertainment, and it is to be broken up with at the end. That's the whole point. It makes it look like she's breaking up with her boyfriend. So now that I've said that, we don't have to do that again. We've covered that quite a bit. If that is the way that you conduct yourself in any situation, I'm willing to bet that it's not the first time. So in a situation where you are in a relationship with somebody who does talk to you like that, male or female, you are in a situation where the person that you are with is not communicating. They're bitching at you. They're nagging. Those are the type of things that men will say, all she does is bitch and complain and nag, blah, 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 blah. Because that's what's happening in that video. There is no communication. There's no, back and forth about what's happening. There's no clear, this is how I feel and this is what I need. Granted, she did say in the video that this is like the third time that it's happened and she's done with it, blah, blah, blah. But if every single one of those conversations that was brought up first, second, and now the third looked like that, of course there's no resolution to what you're asking for because you're screaming and bitching and you're making ugliness out of something that doesn't need to be ugly.
Right.
What did you make a note about?
She was really hung up on liking other photos, whatever. She was wanting him to not be lustful in sight, yet she is dressing in a lustful way for other men to look at.
Right. I thought about that too.
It's the same coin to me.
I think it's worse. I guess maybe not. Thinking of saying that out loud, it's not worse. It's the same thing. You're right. It is the exact same thing.
I view it as both things as cheating.
Yeah.
Women get attention differently from men than men get attention from women. And there's a different gratification in both of those things for each gender.
Okay. So do you view one worse than the other, seeking attention versus giving the attention?
No, I don't think either one is worse. I think both is sin.
I was going to say that I think the thirst trapping shit is worse than the attention giving. And I think to some level I do believe that, but really thinking about it, I think that they're both just fucked up.
Yeah.
But I think somebody going above and beyond to try to get the attention of others while they're with somebody that they should be trying to get the attention of their somebody, I think that matters more. I also have a really big problem with these dashboard videos where people set up cameras and pretend to be doing something. you are putting out entertainment content, but you're not claiming that it's entertainment. You're just putting it up there as if it's real. And you're leaving it to people, well, they should know better. Well, no, they don't know better because you're making it look like this is your life.
Right.
And if this isn't your life, you should be clear. Like, hey guys, this is for entertainment purposes. This is how I would handle that situation. Right. And then fucking go nuts. If that was not a real breakup and it was portrayed that way, the people in the comments the men who follow that chick now think that they have an in because she's single with the way that she's dressed and the way that she portrayed. You know what I mean? Like there's a whole lot of give me attention in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of weird male fetish in that too.
Yeah.
There's aggression there from her. Dudes are into that.
Yeah.
She's dressing provocatively. It's not the kind of attention I would be wanting in looking for male suitors.
Yeah.
Say that breakup did happen and now her DMs are full of whatever. I don't believe all of their intentions are based on, I like her personality. And I wouldn't want to be in a relationship based on
Nice tits.
I make his dick hard. Like,
someone said, who has the time or energy to fake yell at their partner? Well, I went to her account because, again, I went through the comments. There was over 700,000 followers on her account.
okay.
So this is her job.
Oh, yeah.
So assuming,
Entertaining the masses.
even if it's not her job, it's definitely a side hustle. If that video got 1 million views, she's getting paid to do it.
Right.
And if that's what she's trying to do is to try to garnish a following and trying to build a brand of herself, this is a side hustle. And TikTok used to pay really fucking good for that shit.
Used to.
It not anymore. It's been more than a year since we've seen any type of real revenue from TikTok, but it is still creating a brand for her that will allow her to get marketing deals, advertising dollars, view dollars, CPM, like all of that is a thing. Now that we've addressed all that, is there anything else about the video that you dislike about what happened in there? And then I think we should have a conversation of what it should look like to really have that conversation with your person.
Anything that I dislike about the video before we get into the conversation?
Or just anything else that you want to get into. Quit licking my fingers. I don't like that.
Not that I can think of right now. You sound like you have a direction you want to go with this. So
Well, no, my direction is the direction is I want to have a healthy conversation with you about people who are liking thirst trapping videos,
Right.
and repetitive behavior. That's the direction.
Okay.
And we can do that at any point. If we want to talk for 2 hours and then get into that, it'll take me 10 minutes.
Okay.
I can really dummy that down if I have to. So let's, if you have anything that you want to talk about with that from a woman's perspective, please.
by golly,
By golly.
I don't know if I want to piss off that many people right now.
Normally it's me doing it. Want to change chairs?
No, I feel weird sitting in your perspective. Looking at the room from your side is
Awkward. Different.
it gives me like it opens up my reality a little bit, and I don't like that. I'm cozy over here. I can be a bitch on my own in my own chair. The chair might not like it, but we'll get used to it. I don't think that I don't believe in fair, right? I'm going to preface with that. I don't believe in fair.
There's
Nothing
no
in
such
life
thing.
is fair, right? I'm teaching that to the children now. Said this before. Well, brother got that. Brother is in first grade. Brother was born a year and 2 months before you.
Right.
Nothing can be done about that. Life isn't fair. And right, like the whole TikTok I was getting from her was right, it's not respectful, there's loyalty and all these other kinds of things, but to boil it down to like a super superficial kind of thing, it just sounds like that's not fair to me. Well, is it fair for the person you're with to be super cool with you dressing the way that you're dressing? And I'm not just speaking to her specifically. Anybody who feels that it's empowering for them to expose themselves in a sexual manner and your partner's not okay with it, but they love you anyway, so they're trying to be cool with it, like, where is the fair in that for them? I'm really hung up on it's not okay for you to heart react to other photos or to lust after other women but you're over here getting your attention meter filled and your validation and worthiness and all these other kinds of things filled by men on the internet or women on the internet. Women are fucking foul on the internet. Nasty bitches. Y'all make me want to take a bath in hand sanitizer. The shit women say to me.
Oh, I know. I've seen it.
So I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right for two people to agree to be in a monogamous relationship and then seek any sort of sexual gratification outside of that. And I'm not going to say sexual gratification because it doesn't even have to be a sexual gratification when dressing provocatively. It could just be people see me. I matter because I'm attractive or whatever. It could be a sense of self-worth derived from just getting glances from people. And that's a whole other mental spiral that could be delved into.
Well, what do you think about, so it's no secret that I don't want to say that it does it for me. There is a validation in, yeah, I got that. When you are dressed anyway, any type of way, and somebody's checking you out, I'm like, yeah, it's mine. I got that, right? It makes me feel good.
Right.
It makes me feel like I have something that other people want, right? And like
they can't have it.
Like a fucking spoiled single child.
Yeah.
It's my toy, right? Like you want it, but you can't touch it.
If you touch it, I'll hit you.
Right. And I understand that that's not healthy behavior, right? I know that there's some sick pleasure in knowing that that's a thing for me.
Oh no, I like it too.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're at least, I mean, we're not kink shaming. It's cool.
Yeah.
But knowing that that's a thing, there is a difference between you dressing a way that I enjoy and then me liking somebody else's shit on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So in what you were saying earlier about the way that she was dressed for attention, what if it was one of those things that she dresses like that for him because that's the type of shit he likes on the internet? This isn't made up.
Right,
but
made up.
That's the type of shit that he's liking on the internet, and she's trying to cultivate a persona based off of the algorithm that Instagram has given him to get his attention.
So you don't even know who you are at that point.
Right? Well, I mean, do you think that's a thing for people? Because you do see people change.
The chameleon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say that, no, I don't think that that's a thing. I would like to think that women have more worth in themselves, more respect, more cherish in them to not do that. Right? I mean,
I'm going to grab my notepad while you guys your thoughts. You can keep going on.
I'm going to keep going. We've been watching a lot of Wild West films, right? A lot of like Wyatt Earp and these kinds of things. Oh, pew pew. And brothels have been a thing forever. Schmoshtatoots. I don't know if I can actually say the word, so I'm going to say that. Ladies of the night. The way that I said it, Carrie said superheroes. I'm actually thinking like vampires. But I'm talking about, the old let's get a camcorder and hotel bedroom. Okay, I'm done. You catch my drift. The hussies? No. The ladies who do those kinds of things and are okay with that. And I don't believe somebody who is willing to expose themselves in that manner, right? OnlyFans, thirst traps, all of those kinds of things. There's a mental illness there. There is a brokenness there. There is in my mind, none of this is facts at all. I think that wanting to be a sex worker is a mental illness. Or it's derived. I don't believe that humans thrive in a healthy manner while giving themselves up to everybody and anybody and whoever has money at the moment. human beings aren't meant to survive that way. And if a woman's in a relationship with a man and that's what he's enjoying, I don't believe that man's in the right state of mind. I don't believe that's a man, period. That's a male who's grasping at sexual desires versus focusing on growing as a man. And if a woman is willing to step outside of her morals or the things that are comfortable for her, or the things that she feels would be right for her marriage or her relationship, or the person that she's with wouldn't want her to do these things, if she's stepping outside of all of that just to get the sexual attention of somebody, that would break my heart. Compromising everything of who they are just to be, oh yeah, she's hot. So much more than that.
My original tirade that I went on a minute ago, or the question that I was trying to get, and I realized after I started talking that it didn't come out the way that I had intended it to come out.
Okay.
My thought pattern continued as I was talking. And I'm not even going to try to go back and clarify that because the point was already made. You've already addressed it and we're going to move past it. I just want to point out that I'm very aware that when I started talking and when I ended up with was not the same thing.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's going to make sense to everybody when it plays back, but I realized that I was asking you something very specific when I started. And as I started thinking while talking, it just completely derailed the entire thing.
All right. Before you jump into that, I want to tack on this final thing.
Okay.
I think there's a plethora of reasons that anybody can turn to being a sex worker. I want to elaborate that the point that I just made, the people who think that shit makes them happy, or this is going to be a long-term, sustainable, glorious life for them, and that this is empowering, I think there's something going on inside of them and something traumatizing happened. The sex workers that I've listened to in documentaries explaining the horrific events that they've been through or the traumatizing things that have happened to them, I don't believe that's a good lifestyle to be living.
That lead them to that, or
what do you mean?
That lead them to sex work?
No, there are women who jump into that thinking this is going to be this great thing. My best friend's pulling $10,000 a month, and then suddenly they're having objects inserted into them and they're going to the ER. And
right. Well, that's the love of money is the root of all evil.
Yeah. It's, and then, like I said, I touched on OnlyFans. I don't believe that just getting sexual attention from hundreds of men or millions of men or however successful you are in that, that's not a positive intake of information. I think over time that's very dilapidating for the mind.
Well, what do you think about, I mean, there's going to be
dilapidating might not have been the word.
There's people that watch us because you're attractive. That's the reality of it. There are people that will watch the content you post simply because you are a beautiful woman who's well-spoken. That's it. So for people who watch that chick's content, if they view her as attractive and that's something that does it for them, she is technically selling her appearance
Dressed that way
to make money.
Yeah.
Right. Do you see that any different as sex work? Do you think that that's a lesser version? Where does that land for you?
The way that somebody consumes content is not the same as somebody purposely posting content with that intent for it to be consumed that way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Somebody in the chat just said that they think that it's one thing to dress provocatively for your partner. It's another to do it for the world. And that's kind of what I was getting at earlier. If you and I are going out, we're going to go anywhere, bar, musical, axe throwing, whatever. And you want to be arm candy for me to look at for the rest of the night, knowing that one, I'm there to protect you.
Right.
I'm not going to let other men get kind of crazy. And I'm willing to match that crazy.
Right.
Excessively match.
Yeah.
There is a comfort there. You're doing it for me.
Yeah.
Now, there's also a voyeuristic thing there. There are people who are into having people stare at them all night long, and like it does it for them. Cucking is a thing.
Yeah.
So like, at what point does it go from, like, you view that as okay behavior? Like if I wanted you to dress up in
there's no minors around.
Okay.
Right. If we're going somewhere where we know it's strictly adults, I don't like something, I'd stop looking at it.
Right.
Or I leave the area. Right. It also depends on what the outfit is. A really good example, I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with Kanye West. at all. He pops up every once in a while when I open up Google to search a leaf or something. And his wife, Bianca Sensori, her outfits, she's barely dressing herself. Like, she left an apartment or wherever they were staying in Italy with a teddy bear in front of her or a pillow, and that was her outfit. I view that as a sex crime, right? If you're walking around nude and you have a teddy bear covering your pussy, I think that you should go to jail for the night and probably learn something from that, because I don't want to see that. What she was wearing, if she's wearing that for her man and they do that and she's not seeking attention on the internet and that's not something that she's doing on her own, I'm cool with that shit. That outfit didn't bother me. If I could pull that off and you were down for it, let's go. So I would say that the line is drawn. Okay, hang on. Because you asked me, when does it become sex work?
No,
What was the question?
Again, this was one of those things where I had a specific point and it changed and started talking.
Okay.
That situation, do you view that that's okay? It's okay if it's for your man versus for the internet.
Depending on the extent that it goes.
Okay.
Right?
Because it's for his eyes versus everyone else's, or because if it's in a public place, that's where I was going with this.
Right.
If it's in a public place, other people are going to be looking.
Right. Well, it depends on the public place.
A bar, a nightclub.
Right. Well, I would view that as appropriate for that. If she's doing it for him and he gets a kick out of her being arm candy and that's between them and they know that if somebody approaches, we're going to shut that shit down immediately. She's not going to stand there and stare at men who are staring at her and be flirty and winking at people and trying to get attention from other people. She's doing this for her man. They're going out together and this is for them. I'm cool with that. I do that for you. The outfits, though, if it blurs into, like, I can see, can I say like labia on YouTube? Like, if I'm seeing things, then that's a problem.
Right.
But like, she was covered. You could see cleavage. You could see her stomach. But I view that if she were wearing a bikini at the beach, nobody would be saying anything about
Right.
it.
Of course not.
Right?
Because you're at the beach.
So was that a club outfit? That's a club outfit. Is that a Coachella fit, as people say?
I don't know what that means.
Coachella is this massive, kind of like Woodstock, but for raves. I think. I know Billie Eilish played at a Coachella once. But it's people, outfits like that, piecing outfits together, very neon and bright, skimpy, that you could say. So there is a time and place for outfits like that.
I don't know why we got on this topic. I'm trying to replay it back to figure out how we got here.
Because I was talking about I was talking about sex work, and then
What prompted the conversation about sex work? Because that was when I got up to get something, or it was when the mixer crashed.
because you asked me, do I think that women change their styles, like if that's his algorithm on Instagram or whatever,
Right? Is she
tailoring her outfits to try to get the same attention,
Right.
And I said I think that if a woman does that, that's like a derivative of like a mental illness or low self-worth or something happening.
Well, that would technically be, maybe not technically, but that would be a borderline personality behavior.
A chameleon thing.
Right.
Right.
So, yeah, I have a whole lot of things I could think about and talk about with that, but I don't want to get into the clothing aspect of what she was wearing. Is not the important thing. It was the way that she delivered herself,
Right.
to the guy. The issue that I had though was that she was dressed that way, and I believe she was dressed that way for attention, for videos on
Right.
TikTok to do the thing.
Oh yeah, and I commented on that because she had a problem with him looking at other women lustfully.
Right.
But you're dressing lustfully for
That's
other
where we
men
started.
to look. Yeah.
That's how we got on the clothes. Okay.
That's where we're, yeah.
And I agree with that.
That was the point that I wanted to touch on before we started talking about the actual healthy dialogue of that, how that could be.
So her having an issue with him looking at thirst trap videos or other women that dressed like that on the internet.
Right.
The issue is that he's giving attention to other women, period.
Right.
But she's doing the exact same thing by making herself available to other men based off of her appearance. And that's why I asked you if I think one is worse than the other. Now I'm caught back up. Like
Okay.
I really had to go back to figure out why the fuck we were on this conversation.
Right.
On the communicative aspect of things, if this was an issue in our relationship, How would we? I'm gonna backtrack. When we were in Vegas, we were laying down shoulder to shoulder on the bed, and we were on our phones. And I was on Instagram looking at squirrels and like animal shit, and you had your phone open, and you were like, "This is why I don't have to worry about my man." Like I don't do that. I don't give a fuck about other people. Like I honestly, I got to be honest, that shit kind of disgusts me a little bit. Like I have a hard time with anyone who uses their appearance to basically make money from somebody.
I can't stand anybody who thinks that their appearance will get them anywhere in life.
Right.
I mean, it will with the wrong people.
With that being said, modeling is a thing.
Yeah.
And I understand that aspect. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about to the extremes of, I'm guilty of this. If you really want to be like technical, when we first started doing TikTok, I made my TikToks after the gym and I didn't have a shirt on. You couldn't see anything from here down, but that was enough. And like you
there were times I would come home and you would take your shirt off specifically to make a TikTok.
Right. Because I recognized very early on that type of content would make people stop and listen to what I was talking about. And when we had a conversation about it, it made me feel dirty. And I stopped doing it. I haven't made a TikTok without my shirt on in a really long fucking time. There's been times where I've actually put clothes on to make a TikTok because I don't want that perception of me. And in the beginning, I knew what I was doing subconsciously because I realized that those videos were getting more views than the other ones. But the comments were never about my shirt off or my tattoos. It was always about the topic of conversation. And looking back on it, I know, like I'm able to realize that got people to stop and to listen to what I have to say. Now, does that mean that my entire persona on the internet is me without my shirt off? No, because I don't do this shit anymore. I did it at the very, very beginning. And when I realized what I was doing, like truly understood what was happening, I stopped. We had a conversation about it. It was a whole thing. I understand the need of having a brand and you being the brand. If every single time you got on video, you had to look a specific way, in a specific wardrobe or a specific style, and you never got to dress down, and you had a internet persona that you had to maintain, it's not reality. You were a internet personality. You ever watched the Andy Warhol movie with Jim Carrey where he created the whole extra persona of himself?
No.
Dude lived like that for a while. And anyways, it was a whole thing. And I think that having that split personality, you're acting to get views. You've created your own TV show at that point. And I understand the necessity of that as well, but I don't think that it should be based off of your sexuality.
Yeah.
And that's where the issue comes for me. That's where I'm saying, like, I don't fuck with that. I don't like that shit. And if I'm scrolling and every single video that I see of somebody is them being sexual or being overly dom sub, like, because we live that lifestyle, that dynamic is us. I don't want to see that. Like every once in a while to make a point, I get it. I'm totally okay with that. But if every single video that I scroll past is, dom sub sexual content, like you're one step away from OnlyFans. I'm not. You have nothing of sustenance to offer me. So in a situation where I was liking women's videos, how are 3 strikes, right? Because that's basically what she did in the video. It was a 3 strike and you're out thing. I don't think that that's necessarily the answer to everything. I think that there should be grace. There's circumstances that make it so that it's not black and white. There's always a gray area when it comes to communication and relationship troubles. So knowing that I don't think there's a 3 strike and you're out rule, how do you, because there could be some things that are like, that happened, fuck off, right? And there's things that you're going to allow to happen a lot because it's not really that big of a thing. And if they're working on it, they're working on it.
Right.
How do we approach the conversation of the first time that there is an insecure feeling over somebody in a relationship liking the opposite sex's photos or the attracted sex's photos? How about that? That way we're inclusive.
Okay, well, there would be a conversation of before we even started dating, like during the courtship of, I'm not going to be with a man who likes thirst traps.
Okay.
So
it's still established. There's boundaries there.
Right.
So how does that first conversation play out?
I would need a minute. I would need a really big minute. Like I'm one of us is getting a hotel room minute. Because I view that as cheating at that point. I set the boundary of I'm not going to be with a man who likes thirst traps, and then I find out you liked a thirst trap. That would be cheating to me.
You don't think that's an extreme reaction?
It could be. I have borderline. Some people might think that is an extreme reaction. Good thing you're not with me.
Well, I'm with you.
Right.
So
Are you liking thirst traps?
no, but if I okay, so let's say I find somebody that has done some sort of cosplay or like nerd D&D scene switching thing, and there's something in there that can be viewed as thirst trappy. But because of the content of what it is, I like the content.
If it's a thirst trap, it's going to bother me.
Well, so
If
so
she's
what makes it
scantily clad, if her tits are hanging out, if she's barely dressed and you can just see her ass, if it's fully focused on sexual content, I'm going to be upset about it.
okay? So it has to be fully focused on sexual content.
If it's sexual, period.
Well, okay, so that's not the same
Right.
thing though. You just said
There
fully
is.
sexual. It's not because if
Right. Well, I've seen a lot of cosplays and it's fully sexual. There's
a lot of cosplay is.
right. So
What if it, okay, scene, there's a D&D thing.
okay.
They're in a tavern.
Right.
And the main creator is a woman, and she's dressed as a dude with fucking marker on her face to look like a beard, and he's got a sword, and he's playing his role. And then when it switches to her, she's a barmaid, and her tits are fucking hanging out, and she's playing ditzy, and it's back and forth between the character aspect
That's a
of it.
skit.
It's still sexual because she's showing her body off. So where does that line? Which is why I said, because 1 minute it was like totally sexual,
Right.
versus if it's sexual at all, like how does that work? It is a skit. You're right.
Right.
There are a whole lot of people who make their living on the internet doing skits dressed provocatively. It's still a
Right.
skit. So like there has to be, again, it's not black and white. So if your first reaction was you saw that I like something that you deem thirst trappy and you're going to stay at a hotel over it, like we have to have a
Right.
conversation. Like it can't just go to that extreme.
Well, there is going to be a conversation about it. And if it's a thirst trap, I'm going to have to go stay somewhere 'cause I'm going to be pissed. I'm not just packing up and leaving because I seen a notification on Instagram that you like something. There's going to be a conversation.
Okay. So is there room to have a discussion about what was had?
There's room for a discussion, definitely, but I'm going to be livid.
So how does that discussion look? Because you just said I'm going to go stay at a hotel. That's not
Right.
that's not a discussion. That's not going to help somebody that's finding
Right.
themselves in this situation to leave your partner because he likes something and you don't understand and you didn't have a conversation about it. That's not helping anyone.
I didn't say I wasn't going to have a conversation about it.
You said you were going to go to the hotel.
I will.
Okay, so then
There
what's
can be a conversation before I leave, but I'm not going to be able, there's no way I'm going to be able to sleep in a bed next to you that night. I'm going to be pissed. I'm not going to be able to sleep. I'm going to be spiraling in my thinking. I'm going to need a break. Not a break from a relationship, but I need space to breathe. I would feel like that's a massive betrayal. My borderline would be kicking in. I need to not self-destruct right now.
so then so are you saying that you wouldn't be able to have a conversation because
Not in that moment.
Okay, so then how does that look? Because a conversation has to happen about it.
Right.
Especially if it's getting to 2 and 3.
Especially if it's what?
Getting to 2 and 3. If it's happened multiple times, because
Okay.
that's what that TikTok was.
Right.
She's fed up of him liking other girls' photos on the internet.
Right.
This is a very real problem for a whole lot of people in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And though if you were liking lumberjack thirst trap shit, I would talk to you about it the first time. I'm not going to get mad and think that you're cheating on me and fucking need to leave to a hotel. Like my response and your response are going to be very different.
Right.
So how does that conversation look for you? Because even if you have to leave for the hotel, if you were to say, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, how would you handle that situation? Say that I did it. Say that I liked a thirst trap.
I would ask you about it.
Okay.
I saw this. What is this?
And
And I would give you an opportunity to explain.
okay.
And then whatever your explanation is, I told you I did not want this in my relationship.
Okay. So is there any explanation that I would be able to give you that would justify that video? Because if
Justify it?
to justify my action, like I said, if it was a D&D thing and you viewed it as a thirst trap and I viewed it as a Dungeons and Dragons skit that was really well done, is that explanation going to be enough for you to not want to go to a hotel, not view it as a thirst trap, where I can explain my point of view and you actually understand my point of view if it's not just a thirst trap?
Well, I would actually have to see a video to decide whether or not if I think it's a thirst trap or not. I would accept your point of view if you were dying on the hill that it's a skit and that this isn't a sexual thing for you. We would have a conversation of, well, this makes me uncomfortable. I would appreciate it. You can like skits all you want, but I don't want you watching this particular creator anymore.
Okay, well, that brings up a whole nother discussion. I'm making a note about that. Because I don't want to get away from what we're talking about.
Okay.
What so how does the conversation go on the first episode? How do you deliver, because you said you would give me the opportunity to give you my
Right.
excuse or justification. I don't like either one of those verbiages. I don't even like really give the verbiage of explaining myself because it makes me feel like I've done something intentionally. And the example that I'm giving is not, it is your perspective, my perspective of the situation, which is why I'm intentionally giving that.
Right.
I am fully aware that there are dudes that just fucking, anytime there's tits and ass, it could be Jedi Star Wars shit and like it would be a full cowl, lightsaber, nothing's exposed and they're scrolling by it. But when there's a fucking, TikTok transition and there's tits and ass everywhere, now they're like, oh my God, I love Star Wars. I understand that that's a thing. So that's not what I'm talking about. Did you hear her ask me if I had eyelid springs?
I did not.
What the fuck is an eyelid spring? I have to write that down. I have to search.
Okay, yeah, we
I'm
need to Google
so
that.
fucking curious. Eyelid spring.
Yeah.
I got it. I have to know about that. I don't remember. I'm really hung up on that now. I'm hyper fixating hard on what an eyelid spring is.
Do you want to Google it real quick?
No, because if it's what I think it is and it's gonna gross me out, like I don't want to. I'll need time.
Okay. We're still muted.
We're not.
We're not?
We're not.
Oh, you unmuted us already.
I unmuted over the eye spring thing because
Gotcha.
they get. If I had to hear it, they get to hear it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for the heads up.
I thought you saw me reach over there and hit
No.
the buttons. I don't remember where I was before the phone rang, but I don't think that we got to how the conversation would look over the first offense. So how would the first offense conversation play out from your perspective? Knowing that you feel the way that you do, obviously
Right.
you assume that from your perspective it was a thirst trap.
Right.
Regardless of my perspective, how does that conversation play out or start?
Well, I said that I would ask you, what is this? And give you an opportunity to explain yourself. And then I would say that I would consider this a thirst trap. And this falls into, I will not be in a relationship with a man who watches thirst traps. And I would probably still need to go somewhere for the night to not self-destruct.
Okay, so is there a scenario where me explaining myself would somehow make this better?
Probably not. My sense of betrayal and abandonment and everything with my borderline would be way too strong to hear anything logical at that.
Then why give me the opportunity to explain myself?
Because it wouldn't be fair for me to just leave because I'm pissed. Me leaving for that night is to make sure I don't, at 2:00 in the morning while you're sleeping and I'm sitting here hyper fixating on what happened, wake you up and go, fuck you. Like, I'm going to need a minute to make sure I do not self-destruct our relationship.
Okay.
I would view that as a massive betrayal, whether it was intentional or not. And that could be mental illness. That could be seen as an extreme. I know how I am. And if I need to quarantine myself, I'm going to do that versus setting the world on fire.
So this really, from my standpoint, is a perception is reality thing for you.
Okay.
You're perceiving it as I'm doing something wrong, regardless of the situation from my standpoint, knowing that I'm a whole ass person. You're taking offense.
I didn't say you did something wrong.
If I have to explain myself and nothing that I say is going to justify the behavior and you still have to leave me.
It's not a justification of your behavior. I'm upset because I'm upset.
Because I did something wrong.
It's something that hurt my feelings. It's not that you did something wrong.
Okay, so then what would you call that? If it's not right, it's what?
I didn't say, okay.
It would be wrong. If I was doing something right, it wouldn't have hurt your feelings. You're getting caught up on terminology. I'm not saying that you're like, fuck you, you're a bad
Right.
guy. I did something that was wrong in our relationship. It made you feel a certain way and you're handling it.
Right, but you were also saying that there's really no reason for me to give you room to say something because I'm not going to hear it anyway, or it's not going to help me.
You said that. Those were your words.
Right, that's how I took what you just said.
That's what you said to me.
No, I said I would need to leave. I would give you the opportunity to say what you need to say because it would be an asshole move of me
Right.
to just leave because I'm upset.
But you said that you wouldn't hear it because you were upset and it wouldn't matter anyways.
I didn't say that.
Okay. Then I misheard you or misunderstood what you were saying.
Okay.
Because if you're not going to understand the logic conversation that's going to follow, and me trying to explain to you my perspective is not going to change anything, there's no reason for me to even give my perspective.
We have conversations now where you give me your perspective. I understand it and I'm still upset.
Right. But that's not you leaving.
Right. That's an extreme though. Like I in that experience, if I caught you watching thirst traps, I would feel like you're cheating on me. That's an extreme for me. Like that's a relationship ending. Okay. I'm going to need a minute from that.
Right.
Like I can cope in the moment now and be able to navigate my borderline and not have to walk away and be able to sit here in the moment and continue on life like it's normal after we've had conversations. I would not be able to do that in that moment. That'd be too extreme for me.
Okay. This is actually really hard to have the conversation because you're viewing all of it as it's cheating.
That's how I would take it.
Right. Right. So there's not a gray area there with you. And that's what I was asking with the explanation.
Well, there is a gray area there. You can have your explanation. When I'm in a borderline moment, it doesn't matter what's being said. I'm upset and I need a minute. If I come back after I spend the night somewhere else or I sleep on the couch or wherever I end up sleeping because I can't be in the same room with you because I'm upset and I'm going to self-destruct, me hearing your perspective in the beginning gives me something to focus on that's grounded in our reality versus just some made up shit in my mind because of my borderline. And that gives me something to dissect versus he just cheated on me. Your perspective gives me a grounding beacon, I suppose. And that 24-hour cooldown period where I'm able to process my own perspective and then an outside perspective, because I know my perspective is not the perspective. Mine is not the end-all be-all. Coming back and having a second conversation, I will be more grounded and more level-headed. It's not that there's not a gray area. I need time to not self-destruct.
Okay. So that would not be the conversation then.
That would be a second conversation.
So the first offense would be multiple conversations.
Yeah, it would have to be. The first conversation would be, I'm aware of this. Why did this happen? And then you can say whatever you need to say. It was a Star Wars skit. I didn't think it was inappropriate. This is just like watching Game of Thrones, whatever. I'd be like, okay, thank you for saying that to me. I am getting ready to set shit on fire and I need to go somewhere to cool down. I'm not leaving you. I'm not breaking up with you right now, whatever. I want to self-implode and I don't want to ruin my world right now. So I need to go calm down. Whatever that looks like. I don't know what that would look like in the moment because I'm not experiencing it. It could be a hotel room. It could be my mom's house. It could be the man cave. Whatever I would need in that moment to decompress and not flick matches inside of our home.
So we've said over and over and over again that it's really hard to be with somebody else who has borderline.
Yeah.
It's hard to have it. It's hard to be with somebody who has it. And this is the prime example of that. You've never treated me that way.
No.
And hearing you treat me that way, like in a hypothetical, I wouldn't stand for that. Like hearing all of this is making me naturally, and it's, I don't think it's my borderline. I just think that I feel like I'm being attacked hypothetically and it sucks. Knowing that I would be in that position and this is the way things are going, I want to defend myself right now in a hypothetical. It sucks. And it's never been a thing in a conversation with us either, because in my head, I'm using that very specific D&D thing. And like, in that situation, if that was the thing, I wouldn't feel like I did anything wrong. And knowing that you would be that upset and not being able to talk to me, and knowing that me being able to give you my perspective of things isn't going to change the situation at all because you view it the way you view it, would really put us at odds. And it would be a very hard conversation secondary. Why are you throwing things?
I
I'm
didn't
just trying
see
to
it
talk
was
to you,
there.
babe. What the fuck?
Because I was getting ready to put my hand up the same way you were putting your hand up. Because I didn't say that your perspective is not going to change anything.
You did.
I did say that having your perspective will give me a grounding beacon in my reality because my mind's going to be fucked
Right.
up.
It would give you something new to focus on after the fact.
After we had the first conversation, before I walk away because I need a break before I self-destruct.
Right. But in the knowing that you are still going to have to walk away and still not
Yeah,
self-destruct.
I'm going to need a minute from you.
It's not going to ground you. You are going to still need time.
Yeah, I'm mad.
And that's fine. And there's conversations that has to happen between that initial back and forth, then you deciding that you need to take the time to leave, and then coming back and resuming the conversation from a calm, collected thing.
Right.
That you got a whole fucking process over there of things that has to happen for
Yeah.
a smooth thing.
I'm not a normal person. I'm not okay.
I wrote down on here, same creator.
Okay.
And I just want to, before I move on to the next thing, because I want to talk to this.
Okay.
If it is the D&D thing, right? And every one of that one female creator's content is her with her tits out to some degree. Mm-hmm. And I'm constantly in her videos. There's still a gray area of, am I liking this because it's D&D content, or is it because it's the tits out thing? Now, am I following other D&D creators, male and female? Am I liking skits, getting information, learning how to max min-max, whatever? There's a whole lot of research that you would want to look into before you came crazy at me about me liking a video of that specific content. If it was...
I'm not doing research. I'm not the CIA over here. I'm going to talk to my man and you can inform me about those things and show me all of those things. I'm not going to sit over here at 3:00 in the morning and stalk your TikTok follows. I'm not doing that. Why are you looking at me like that? I view that as crazy behavior. If I'm so upset over a TikTok video that I'm going to sit down and start researching everything that you're doing before I have a conversation, that falls in line with me. Like, I'm going to search through your phone without you looking.
Right. I get that. You asked me why I was looking at you like that, and then you didn't give me a chance to answer
Well,
you.
you just sat there in silence a little
Because
bit longer, so I elaborated.
I'm trying to figure out how to word what I was going through in my head. I've never in my life gone through somebody else's phone.
Right.
I've never gone through anyone's email. I've never gone through anyone's purse. Like, I don't do that behavior.
Right.
I think that in doing that, you are violating somebody else's privacy, even if you believe what they're doing is fucked up, and then you're proven right. I still disagree with it. Mm-hmm. I think that it is an overstep, and you should not do that.
Right.
So I've never done that, even when I believed I could prove my point, because it doesn't matter. I already feel the way I feel. Getting proof of why I feel the way that I feel is not going to make me feel any fucking better. Right. This is how I feel. If I can't figure out why and it can't change, they gotta go, or the situation has to change. So when you ask me that, I'm trying to think of a way to explain where my thought process was with that. And I can't come down to anything other than I send you those TikToks. I watch TikTok with you sitting on the couch next to me. So
I have TikTok on my personal phone now, so you can send me TikToks.
I'm actually really glad, because I do send you TikToks all the time. It's a way for us to connect. I would, and this is probably a false assumption, but I would assume that you would know the type of content that I'm consuming.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I'm aware.
Right, because I'm not hiding it.
Oh yeah.
So then where does the crazy behavior come in? Because you do know that I follow D&D stuff like crazy.
Right. So that crazy behavior specifically in our relationship would come from, I would know that you knowingly did that shit knowing it would hurt me. You knew it would hurt me and didn't care. Because you're so on top of it. I know how you are as my husband. So if you liked something and it hurt my feelings and you hit me with, well, I didn't know that would hurt your feelings, bullshit. You knew it would.
Well, in that scenario, again, a made up scenario of the D&D thing, if I like that creator, even if this was a one-off where she had her tits out, and I happen to like that video because it's D&D content and I like the skit.
Right.
You getting mad about it, if I'm liking it because I like the skit, I'm not thinking thirst trap. So there's not a matter of, you know, that it was going to bother you. You can't say that I knew that was going to be the thing, because in the moment, I'm not thinking about you. I'm thinking about the content that's there.
Right. That's my borderline though.
But that's a you problem, not a me problem.
And that's why I'm going to need the decompression time.
Okay. Because
that's not a you problem. And me sitting here and going, well, you knew better than that. Well, if he's saying that it was the skit, and he noticed the tits and was like, oh, that's fucking gross. I'm glad that's not her content all the time. I'm going to believe my man, but I'm still going to have to fight my demons.
Do you think there would be a possibility there that the fact that her tits were hanging out or she was extremely chest exposed is not something that I even focused on?
For you specifically, I do think that that's a possibility.
Okay. Would that...
You're an oblivious man.
It's not that I'm oblivious. I don't like people.
Yeah. No, in context of watching videos, we'll be watching something and it'll be like, oh, I didn't even see that and I've watched this 4 times.
Yeah, that happens. Because this is ego. This is all ego. I believe I'm an intellectual. I truly believe I am. And I watch things that make me think. And I want to pause and have conversations. And what are you looking at?
Something Aloha said, and I didn't know if that was in regards to us or whatever.
I like to believe that I'm smart, right? And to be like, I'm intelligent, that's my ego. I do like to think that I have some sort of wits about me. And I like to have my thoughts challenged. And sometimes I may not like it in the moment, but I will dwell on it and I will come to a conclusion. And once I've come to the conclusion, I'll feel better about it one way or the other, because I may have a new perspective. So when I'm watching things most of the time, I'm not mindlessly watching anything. That doesn't happen. I would have to be high or drunk to turn my brain off to just mindlessly watch a TV show. I have a hard time watching TV, period, and not being side distracted with a whole bunch of other shit. But when we're watching TV, I'm breaking down conversations, body language. Why are they behaving that way? How would this work in real life? Is that realistic or not? Like, that's my brain all the fucking time. So sometimes what I'm watching and what's happening is not the conversation that's being had in my head. So you're right in that aspect. I miss all kinds of shit. And it's not that I'm oblivious. It's that I'm not paying attention to the bullshit. I'm not watching mindlessly. I'm engaged. I was trying to give an example. I was going to try to give an example, but I don't have anything recently that really stands out in my head other than Yellowstone. And it was last night. I don't want to give spoilers. By the time it's come out, it will be way past that, but the people watching right now, that wouldn't be fair to them. So back to the original question with the same creator thing that I had brought up. If that same creator, and that was all of their content, was them with their tits out, whether it was D&D or not, that I could see how that would be problematic. Because you can find other D&D creators that make D&D content that does it really well, that doesn't do it exposed.
Provocatively.
Right. You can absolutely find things to reach your fandom that is not inappropriate. And I also think that speaks to the quality of the man or the woman watching it, because ultimately you're not responsible for the content that others create. You're responsible for what you consume. So can you give me the short breakdown one more time, the steps of what would do from the first instance of this? It was, I saw this was a thing. It bothered me. Why did you do it? I'm going to go stay at a hotel. Then second conversation the next day, roughly.
Yeah. So there would be that initial conversation of, I'm aware of this. Why did you watch this? What did you get from this? I consider this a thirst trap and I don't want this in my relationship. I told you that before we got together. And then in order to not burn our house down and commit insurance fraud and all of these other, I'd probably fake my fucking death. Like, when I say that my borderline would go insane, like I really do need to step away from everything for a minute. My mind is still very much in the extremes. And when I think something is going wrong, my mind immediately goes to unalive yourself. So that, like, our marriage falling apart would be like a step further and everything is going down at this point. So I would definitely need that cool down period. And then I would have to come back and we would have to have a conversation when I'm in a calmer mindset. And there's no guarantee that I'm going to remain calm in this conversation. It could take one word for me to flare back up, and I'm going to need 30 minutes from this conversation before we come back to it, because I want to fucking kill myself right now. Like, I need a minute. I need to calm back down. I need to come back to my logic brain before we continue this on, because this isn't productive anymore. And that's not a you problem. That's 100% a me problem. I have so much trauma when it comes to cheating.
I can tell.
I'm trying not to cry.
Well, this is very extreme. Like, this is not how I thought your conversation about this would go at all.
I would not be okay. I would not be okay. I love you enough to try, though. Old me would have seen that and been like, you son of a fucking bitch, get your shit, get out of my house. Like, you have 30 minutes before I call the cops. Like, I 100% would have lost my mind and blew up our relationship. I would have blocked you on everything. You would have never heard from me again.
You hear how unhealed that is, right?
Yeah.
Especially not giving the opportunity to have an I fucking hate the term explanation because it makes it sound like you have to defend yourself. But not being able to have a conversation about what happened is not healthy.
Right.
Because you are living in your own perception. There's no, we talk about all the time that there's a whole other ass person that's lived life experiences in the moment. And the reason they do things normally has nothing to do with the other person. It's about themselves.
Right.
So in that moment, like hearing all of this, I'm glad that I would have never have had to have viewed that side of you because we wouldn't have never gotten here.
Right.
Conversations and communication has to happen.
Right.
Just hearing all of this is just intense to me. I'm sorry that you still struggle with all of that. I didn't realize that was a thing. And even more so, I guess it's a victory on my part because I've never sparked that in you to have to see that side of you. Or to work through that. Do you think, I'm therapy in your ass right now.
What?
Do you think that this conversation kind of triggered you a little bit and you're like learning that you're not healed?
I've known that I'm not healed.
Yeah.
This conversation did piss me off a little bit, yeah. I would definitely say this conversation triggered me a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's reasons or whatever.
Yeah. So, okay. How would the second conversation go? Not the second conversation, not conversation 1.2, but if it happened again after conversation 1.2 on the second offense.
Oh gosh, do we even get to a second offense?
I would hope so.
Like
on my D&D explanation, I would fucking hope so. I would hope that there would be enough grace that there would be the possibility of a misunderstanding again in the future, because the opposite of that means that we didn't get past conversation 1.2 in a relationship. There's always a possibility that.
Right. Well, if I've asked you to stop watching that creator, is that going to be a thing?
Yeah, I would just, they're not filling my life in any way, shape, or form. I would just unfollow that creator and move on with my life.
So if the second conversation is not the exact same as the first conversation, it's a variation, then yeah, that would be a thing.
Okay. Well, it would be. It would have to be.
Right.
Because the conversation, I guess maybe I did leave it on that one thing, and I did bring up the same creator thing. But that conversation on that TikTok was that girl saying that he's liking women's posts, not a woman's post.
Okay, multiple women.
So obviously the thirst trap thing is a habitual thing.
Right.
And I'm going to pause. Algorithms are a motherfucker.
Right.
And if I had interacted with that person's content for a year and it shows up in my FYP and I'm sitting on the couch and that content creator shows up, even if I don't like it and you hear it, is that enough to set you off?
Maybe.
How is that? How is that my fault or a me problem?
It's not.
Would you take it out on me?
You might catch something out of the side of my neck at first. Like if I hear something, you might get like a "what is that?" or "what are you watching?" And it's not going to be on purpose. That's going to be like a pure autopilot. I heard something, I'm triggered, and like, you know how like a shark has the films that come over its eyes when it breaches the water to protect it? Sharks have that. It's a thing. It goes over their eyes so that they're not injured from any blunt force trauma or whatever. Like my brain's going to do that shit. It's going to be an instant trauma response, and we're going to be in survival mode.
So now I have to defend myself to your trauma response. Because of
if
the
you
tone.
didn't cut me off, maybe not. I don't remember where I was going with that.
Well, your tone of what the fuck is that?
Right. Well, I was explaining something.
Even if that's a trauma response,
Right.
I shouldn't have to deal with that because of something that popped up on my TikTok.
Right. Well, you wanted me to answer, so I did.
Right. But I'm asking you,
Right.
why? How, I now
That's
have.
not your problem.
But you did make it my problem. It would become a problem because we're not having communication at that point.
Right.
You're making accusatory statements in a negative tone instead of just going, "Hey, what was that?"
Right.
Right? Like that's the difference between.
Well, that would have been the follow up. I would have caught myself in the moment and been like, "Shit, sorry, babe."
Okay.
You can keep going though.
I'm just. this is hypothetical.
Right.
I don't want you getting upset with me over a hypothetical situation. I am trying to present real life situations on the way that we problem solve and work through things. And because we've never worked through this, I'm getting a very raw side of you right now. And like,
Right. But you've experienced in the moment where I've come out of the side of my neck and then immediately reeled myself back in. And that would have been one of those moments.
okay, well, that's fair.
And that's where I was going with that.
And that's fair. I agree. I've done the same thing. There are times where we immediately pause and be like, hey, wait a minute. I didn't mean that. Right. Like, that's not how I want to talk to you.
Right.
And that's healthy. Do you think that, okay, you just said that you would be able to do that, that's what would happen there. Do you think that you'll get to a point where that won't be a thing?
What do you mean?
The initial fuck you response that comes from that?
I hope so. I'm noticing a dwindling in it, but in that kind of extreme, I can't promise that I'll be able to catch it in the moment. I mean, like right before I say it, I might not be able to.
Are there things that I would be able to do to minimize that?
Unless you can like read my mind before it happens.
Right. Well, I can't control that. And I can't control the
Right.
algorithm.
Just have grace with me. Understand that I'm fucking upset right now.
Right. Well, and the grace aspect is definitely a thing. This speaks to the training aspect of people, though. If that happened, and it happened more than once, eventually I would start watching TikTok with my headphones on.
Right.
Or not around you. And then I feel like I'm doing something wrong, and that becomes my new norm, and I no longer feel like I'm doing something guilty. That line gets moved because the fear of your response to what's happening in the moment is going to make me change my behavior to avoid that negative visceral reaction from you. I think that can create problems in a relationship long term as well, and it's something to be aware of. So the second, that's irrelevant. I just wanted to know how that would look if it happened again. That was pure curiosity on my part.
Okay.
Second offense, different creator, different type of content. You see something that you view as thirst trappy. Let's say this time it is an actual thirst trap video of somebody shaking their ass. And I actually like it, not just watching it, but like it. And it shows up on your feed. I don't know how you would know if it's liked or whatever. Whatever. Fuck it, I reposted it. Something. I don't know. Or I commented and you happened to see it and you went to the comments thinking, I wonder what people are saying in this. And you see a comment from your husband. I like that. Something, right? Now it's really fucking being inappropriate. And you bring that to me. What is that? That conversation is definitely the end. I just made it way worse than that TikTok video.
You did just make it. That's a lot worse.
I was trying to make it.
That is
this isn't Instagram. Like, how are you going to know what I'm liking or not liking? Facebook is the only thing that shows whether or not, like, who's liked what things.
Catching it over your shoulder or going through your phone while you're sleeping.
Okay.
And I used to be that person.
So let's use the over the shoulder.
Okay.
So we're sitting on the couch together and there's music playing. And you look over and I'm actively watching someone shake their ass and not scrolling past. I didn't like it, but you caught me watching a thirst trap. The conversation on the TikTok was about liking other girls' thirst trappy content. Is that enough to set off a whole thing? Because you caught me in the moment. I can't fucking deny it at that point. If you saw me watching a video of a girl shaking her ass on my phone.
Right, but you said the content of the TikTok is talking about what?
Talking about nothing. It's somebody shaking their ass. You caught me in the moment watching a thirst trap. I didn't like it. I'm just watching it.
Why are you watching
the TikTok that I was talking about on here?
Oh.
She said that they were liking other people's videos.
Okay.
This is not a like. You caught me watching it in the moment.
I'm going to ask you, why are you watching that?
That's the second offense.
Why are you watching that? And it's probably going to sound really shitty. And that it's probably going to be intentional.
I think in that situation, it being shitty is justified. I can't say that it's the right response, but I think that it's justified behavior.
It would be why are you watching that? And you're going to say whatever you're going to say. And I'm going to say, I'm going to walk away now because I want to bash your phone against your fucking face. And I'm going to walk away.
Wow.
I'm fucking livid. Like, not only do I view that as disrespectful because you know it bothers me, you're doing it sitting next to me on the couch. Like, I need a fucking minute. And I think that you would understand that things are not okay right now.
I just had a whole thing play in my head where you like smack the phone out of my hand and like fucking.
I would be livid.
I am really taking this to extremes.
Yeah, like things would not be okay. I'm not a calm reactor either. Old me would have just sat there and took that shit. I would have looked over, seen that, and been like, oh, damn, I'm not good enough, and then just sit here on the couch and continue watching whatever we're watching on TV. And then probably let them fuck me later. No self-respect, no self-care. Doesn't matter because I'm not going to get any better than them. They've told me that.
I did take it further than I should have. I should have. My issue is that you can't tell who's liking what.
Right.
If I'm heart reacting shit on Instagram, unless you go through and see all the shit that I've liked, how do you know that's a thing?
Right.
And again, because I don't do shit like that, I don't know how that works. I do know that you can see who's liked shit on Facebook. So if there is a like thing on Facebook,
I think on Instagram it shows you like so and so liked this, or these 3 mutuals and 3 other 1,000 people liked this.
okay. I don't social media enough for that to be a thing. I post and get the fuck off that shit because it's not adding anything of real value to my life. Most of the things that Instagram and TikTok force into my feed is shit that I don't want to see, and I can't make it go away. So, okay, just fucking humor me then. The second time is you scrolling Instagram and see an inappropriate photo of like a girl on the beach. It's not inappropriate. She's on vacation in Honduras or fucking Spain, laying
some
on a
random
beach.
chick.
Some random fucking person that I don't know. And I like the photo because that adds context.
Yeah.
I don't know this person. She's half naked on a beach. I can't be like, fuck yeah, girl, get your vacation. I don't know you.
Right.
Right? So like, how does that second conversation look?
I would screenshot it, send it to you, and say, I'm not doing this. What the fuck is this? I really have zero tolerance for it. I'm not going to be in a relationship where I don't feel like I'm cherished or I'm wanted or I'm desired. I'm here actively choosing you in your real life and you're chasing pussy on the internet.
Would you be animated and degrading the way that woman was in the video?
Degrading, no. Animated, maybe.
Well, there was shit talking there. And
Shit talking, well, what kind of shit talking? Like calling passenger princess and all these kinds of
calling
things?
anyone a name in conflict.
I wouldn't be calling names. I would probably be very frustrated and hitting things in the past. This has not changed behavior. I fucking told you what I expected out of this relationship. I'm not happy. Those kinds of things. The disrespect that I'm feeling. Not what I expected after being with somebody for 3 years. This is not where I wanted my life to be.
So there would obviously not be a third opportunity.
No.
Okay. I think that's fair. In a situation where I saw an Instagram reel of a lumberjack dude chopping wood, and it was Peaches like this comment or like this video or whatever. I don't think that there would really be a conversation there. There would not need to be a back and forth. I don't even think that I would give you a reason to explain because there's nothing that you're going to say in the moment that's going to make me feel any different. And I think that's how I would approach the situation. I really think that I would show this to you and be like, hey, we've talked about this and this makes me feel like shit. And I would rather you not like videos like this. And you can explain it, well, I like that axe. That's one that I want for our overlanding vehicles, and that's why I like the video. And you can try to explain however you want to explain, even if it was a really good reason. I still feel the way that I feel, and that's how I would address the issue. Not fuck you for doing that, but we've had conversations about this in the beginning of the courting phase. This is a thirst trap video. I noticed that you like it. It made me feel fucked up. And moving forward, I don't want you to do that anymore. And that would be the extent of the first conversation. For me, on a second conversation, if I caught another one where you're, liking gym bros shit, I would ask about that. Like, hey, this is gym shit. Like, are you learning how to do side lateral raises? And that's like why you like the video? Like, and then I would probably ask, like, do you follow this content creator? Why do you follow this content creator? And then I would go and look and see if it's always them without their shirt on, or if it's a woman always with their ass out. Like, I would want context at that point for a second conversation so that I really understand what's happening, because then I'm going to make a decision whether or not you're doing it to intentionally like thirst trap videos or if there's real motive behind it. And then if there is a third time and I've seen a pattern of all of that, it's going to tell me everything that I need to know. But on the conversation of the third time, I'm not going to act like that woman in the video. I'm not going to lower my expectations of self because I hold myself at a higher standard. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to scream and yell. I'm not going to call you names. I'm not going to, when I'm talking to you,
Right.
I'm not doing any of that. We're going to have a conversation. I'm going to let you know where I feel like you did me dirty. And then I'm going to tell you that this is not how I want to live my life and it's time to move on. And that's not speaking to divorce. It's speaking to breakup. This is hypothetical. We're not having divorce conversations. I'm speaking if that was us in the video. I don't think that there would be a third conversation. I think that if it happened the first time I've explained to you that what you did hurt me. So it's not a matter of, hey, we talked about this in the beginning. For me, it would be this specific moment in time. You did something that hurt me, and I want you to know that it hurt me. And I'm giving you the choice to not do this in the future. I would appreciate it if you don't do that again. I'm not telling you, fuck you, don't do that. I'm not making a big deal out of things. I'm just letting you know that I don't appreciate it, right? Like that's how I would handle that first time. The second time, I would believe that you have started creating a pattern, and I would really start to do research to figure out if I'm right. I would need to know, like, because I don't accept my emotional response to things. I need to know if my emotional reaction, because my emotional reaction would also be like, this bitch, she knows this hurt me. Like she's doing this intentionally now. And I would have to dial that back. I would have to pull that way the fuck in. And I would be cool, calm, and collect before I bring it to you, because I would want to make sure that I'm not coming at you sideways and creating major problems in our relationship. And I would want to understand the why. And if it is somebody that looks different than me, say it is the gym bro, and I'm a fat ass right now. Like I understand I was big at one point. Like I was muscular when we were doing our thing. Like I was going to the gym every day. Like, do you miss that? Is that something you need? If I drop the ball in my donut, my spare tire, is that unattractive to you? Like, is this something that I have done that is not fulfilling a need in you? Like we would have to have a really long conversation about the why of all of it. And then after I had the understanding of the why of all of it, and I understood maybe it's not that I've gotten fat, maybe it's just that you like gym bros, or maybe you like that one creator, or whatever your fucking reason is. That would be the second, like, hey, we talked about this. I view this as thirst trappy, and I don't appreciate what's happening right now. You're making me, you know how this makes me feel. I'm not going to tell you not to do this shit because you're a grown ass woman. You can do what the fuck you want to do, but I'm not going to accept this behavior in my life. And then if a third scenario came up, it would be hey, we've had 2 conversations about this. You've chose to make social media and these people that you don't know more of a priority than your husband or your boyfriend, because it's boyfriend at that point. I'm going to go ahead and pack my things. This is not the life that I envisioned for myself. And I'm not calling you names. I'm not getting nasty. None of that shit's happening.
There's no point to do so.
We're having calm, like scary, calm conversations. You're not going to get a rise out of me. I'm not going to give you that. I wouldn't allow somebody who has hurt me that way multiple times to see the hurt a third time. I view that as
they get a kick out of it at that point.
Right. I think that they're doing it to get a rise. Yep. I definitely think that there's a right and a wrong way to have these conversations. I think that they need to be very clear. And I think that there needs to not be name yelling. And I understand the every once in a while coming out of the side of the neck, or like having a visceral reaction to something and then immediately catching yourself. I think the goal though is to be able to catch ourselves when we're feeling that way. And I think that that's what changes behavior patterns, because if you start to realize that you're getting mad before you react, you breathe, because now you're making a choice to respond to the situation. You get a different outcome from it.
Right.
But I think that takes a lot of growth, and I don't think that a lot of people are there yet. So for the average person who's having conversations like this, who are in relationships that are young, because younger people are going to have a much harder time with these conversations because they are more emotional. They've not healed. They've not had grown-up conversations yet. There's not been life experience. They're just responding to things or reacting to things the way that they always have. How do they have... I was going to say, how do they have these situations without it being a big deal? But honestly, what needs to happen is people need to be aware of what they're consuming.
Yeah.
And
People need to have a standard for themselves in their own lives.
Society has made it okay to consume these things.
And to produce it.
Right. Right. There's no sustenance to it. It is about people making $1 and getting attention. It's a dopamine hit. It's a dopamine hit that can make you money, which creates a bigger dopamine hit, which is why people spiral into spicy content, and it gets worse and worse and worse as it goes, because they're chasing that high. So do you think that, because this conversation was about the communication in that video, do you think that this is more of a conversation about integrity and quality of character?
Yeah. I mean, it could be.
So what does that look like? And how does that look in the courting phase?
What do you mean? How does that look in the courting phase?
Let's answer the first question first. First question's first.
Okay.
Was the integrity thing? No, wait. What was the first question?
I don't know.
Fuck, I don't remember either. What did I say? Carrie, what did I say? She wasn't looking. She had her phone in her hand.
Okay.
Leads to spicy content, leads to money. Is this an integrity thing or a quality of character? And what does that look like? Is that what I said?
I think so.
Fuck it. Let's go with the second aspect of it. What does that look like in the courting phase? How does that conversation have to happen in the courting phase about a partner of integrity? Or
So if I were a woman in the dating scene right now, the way that I would lay that out is, look, I do not seek attention on the internet. I have an Instagram and it's for my photography. I don't use Facebook. I don't want to post myself on the internet. I'm not looking for thirst trappy. I'm not doing any of that shit. And I'm looking for a man who has the same values of not lusting after women who do that on the internet. I don't want a man who's always on social media, who is doom scrolling TikTok for 6 hours a day. I need a goal-oriented male. I need a man who's going to come home at night and be a provider in every aspect. That's just not financial.
I'm listening, babe. Keep going.
That's the end thought.
You said that you want a goal-oriented man. Somebody that's not going to doom scroll TikTok for 6 hours. That speaks to living with intent and having a man who is, that speaks to a high-value man. I believe that. If you have time to drink for 6 hours a day, right? If you have, and I'm guilty, I play video games. I don't play for 6 hours a day. Sometimes I take a down day and I do my work late at night or early in the morning to get it done so that I have time to specifically play video games. But if you have the ability to drink every day for 6 hours or 6 hours of video games every single day, you have the ability to fucking do your hobby 6 hours a day, every day. You've got a fucking pretty dope life where you get to just do whatever the fuck you want. But if you're somebody that isn't in a tax bracket high enough that allows you to completely provide for your family financially and still give them time, right? Because provision is not just financial. You're providing them with knowledge and the ability to lead your home. This is a whole fucking thing for me, I guess, right now. But, and you still have the ability to play 4 or 5 hours of video games or 4 or 5 hours of photography every single day. You've got to be there in life. If you're not to that point and you don't have the ability financially to take care of your people and you are not there to be present as a father and you can't time management and operate on 4 hours of sleep, you should have other priorities than what's going on the fucking internet. And if your screen time is, 8 hours a day between your computer screen, your TV screen, and your fucking phone, I don't give a shit who you are. You've got too much screen time. Unless you're like a day trader that needs to be in front of stocks consistently or working for 8 hours a day in front of a TV or a monitor, that's different. What are you doing with the other part of your day? So in that aspect, I fucking get it. So on a date or like the courting phase where we're getting to know each other and we're going on dates, one of the things from the point you made, I'd be looking for how many times they pick their phone up. Is it in their pocket the entire time? Like, Are they doing this while talking to you?
Right.
Because it shows that they're not able to disconnect. That's a huge red flag. That's something that you should be looking for before you become attached to somebody.
Yep.
The internet isn't real.
No.
It's an illusion. It's an echo chamber.
It can die tomorrow and life will continue.
You're right. 100% right. It would continue.
Life as we know it won't continue the same way.
Correct.
But
that's why I paused.
I'm still going to wake up in our bed tomorrow.
Right. And life is going to continue. Meds are going to get a whole lot harder to get. Like things are going to have to regress 50 years to get to 40 years to get to that. So it would be very different than most people alive right now have experienced. But the internet is a tool. It is not a reality. And that's the difference. If you use the internet as a tool, it's not a bad thing. If you're using it to live your life, flirting, sexting, thirst trapping, jerking off, and that's your world, everything is happening digitally, you're not living a life. You're a slave at that point. And I believe that. So you said that you're looking for a quality person. I don't think that you're going to get that to somebody that's addicted to their device.
I agree.
So that's something that do you think that you would be able to skirt these conversations later?
What do you mean skirt them?
Because we've never had this whole thing, this entire episode, the frustration and the elevated energy between the two of us from all of this is all hypothetical. We have never once had a conversation that even remotely looked like this over thirst traps or anything like that, because I don't fuck with that shit. I have everything I need. And in the event that like I need extra sexy time, I'm gonna fucking text you and tell you, because I want you to fill that. I want you to be the person that fills all of the voids in my life, because I don't want to be tempted by other things. Get out of here, Satan. Go fucking tempt somebody else. I don't need that shit. Like, and I know it's ha ha ha, but I mean that. Like, I'm addicted to sugar, right? Like I was supposed to start the carnivore diet 2 weeks ago. It didn't work. I've had steak twice since then. Like I like my sugar. And like I've had 2 apple pies since Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Right? And you're an enabler. You made the shit. Fucker.
I thrive to make my man happy.
And you do, until I look in the mirror and I'm fat. But that's a me problem, not a you problem, right? So there is an addiction, an addictive personality there. There is a hard time for me, and I am obviously tempted by things. If I'm like, let's go to Vegas and we walk through the poker room, I want to play poker. Now, if I'm holding the mortgage payment, we're not going to Vegas if that's all we got, right? I understand that I have the ability to self-regulate to a degree, but I don't want to be put in a position where I have to self-regulate or be tempted, especially when it comes to the opposite sex. I don't want to have to deal with that. It'd be a whole lot easier for me to remove temptation and not have ho-hos and ding-dongs and funny bones and apple cream pies and fucking kid snacks and Doritos and Fritos and all of that shit in the cabinets and fucking the Danishes that carry by and all of those things. Like, if it's not around, I'm not going to eat it. I'll just be like, I'm hungry. Am I hungry enough to want to cook right now? No. Am I hungry enough to eat that shit that I really don't want to eat? No. Then I'm not really that hungry yet. I'll wait. Because it's not there. And that speaks to a laziness too, because fuck cooking. But like that's a reality for me. So if I can remove the temptation from my life, I don't have to worry about it being there to tempt me constantly. I'm not Jesus. I couldn't spend 40 days in the desert being tempted by the devil. I would cave. So why put myself in a position to be 40 days in the desert with the devil when I don't have to be? So my question or my statement to you originally was, do you think that there is a way to avoid being put in this position to skirt this situation?
Yeah.
And what is that?
Be a woman of integrity and seek men with the same thing.
Okay. So what about the women who find men that are able to manipulate, lie, and like...
The moment you find out, drop them. You're not going to fix them. You're not Wonder Woman in that aspect. The moment you find out the man you're with is taking advantage to you or has lied to you about who he is as a person, and he's not willing to change, is not willing to go, you know what, you're right, this past behavior has been shit and this is not who I want to be, move on.
Do you think that speaks to self-worth?
Yes.
Why?
Because people believe that they're not good enough, and if somebody ends up loving them, they're fucking lucky for that. And they believe that no one will ever love me the way that this person loves me. Believe in yourself and believe that you're worth more than that.
I think that there's a lot of truth in that. I think that a lot of us accept because we believe we're not going to get any better. Mm-hmm. I believe that a lot of people have been told you don't deserve XYZ, or you're not good enough for XYZ. You should be grateful for what you have. He's a good provider. You should take that. You got such a good man, even though behind the scenes he's abusive, right? Like, he's such a gentle person. He does everything for everyone. Well, behind the scenes, he's fucking throwing her into the wall and fucking smacking her around and shit. Or like psychologically warfare, abusing her to the point where she completely doubts herself, right? And we can speak to like specific types of abuse in terms of like narcissism and shit like that, but abuse is abuse. And the people who are effective abusers have everyone around them believing that they're great people. Mm-hmm. And
that's part of the abuse cycle. The person that they are with, they want them to be the only person who truly sees them.
Right.
Because then to everybody else, you're crazy.
That's it. That's exactly it. That's 100% factual.
Right.
So having self-worth and understanding like I deserve better than this, regardless of what other people are telling me, mm-hmm. that's self-preservation. Like I've said over and over and over again, I can be happy alone, or I can be miserable with somebody, or I can be miserable alone. And if I have to pick one of the miserables, I'm gonna pick miserable alone, because at least at that point I have the ability to make myself happy without external circumstances shitting on that, right? Or maybe I'll be able to meet somebody that has a positive outlook on life or is able to impart wisdom, and like I can steal their sunshine for a little while until I can come out of the darkness. Like there's got to be something more there. And I believe that living in a situation where both of you are just throwing shade on each other, you're never going to find light.
Right.
That's just not a way that I would want to live.
Living under shade kills you.
It does. You can't live like that forever. Right. Do you have anything else that you want to get into? This is a really long episode. We're like almost 2 hours into this.
The last thing that came to my mind, this last situation that we were just speaking on, there are people who are in a relationship who are waiting for somebody else to give them the okay to leave it. They're waiting for somebody else to go, you don't deserve that. You deserve better than that. That's who you're choosing to be with. Nobody is coming to save you. Right? And I used to be that person who was in a relationship that I hated being in, and I felt like I was being treated like shit and all these other things. And I would get offended that other people weren't commenting on it. How come nobody's standing up for me? How come nobody's willing to say that's not right? Bitch, why wasn't I willing to say this isn't right? Why was I not willing to stand up for myself and go, this isn't okay? The moment that you stop relying on yourself and you start relying on other people, your life is already over. That's a twofer.
Yeah, you got a twofer today. Well, I don't believe that people, first of all, I don't believe that people are comfortable being alone.
Yeah.
I think
100%.
I think that we live with our parents until we find somebody to move in with.
That we can tolerate better than our parents.
Right, because we get a little more freedom with them. And then when we are in that relationship and we're ready to move on, we find the next person and get them in line, and then we leave and go with the other person.
Just
and
upgrading bookmarks.
Right, that's it. You're cartwheeling through life from situation to situation to situation because
Where's
it's
the
easier.
goal?
It's easier than being alone, because being alone is scary. What about finances? What if I fall? What if, oh man, I don't want to eat dinner alone every night. I don't want to cry into my bowl of ice cream. Watching Seinfeld by myself would suck. I've never watched Seinfeld, not a single episode. So it's just hypothetical, but like that's a thing for a lot. I truly believe that a lot of people are afraid of that. And then on the opposite extreme, there are people who are afraid that they're going to be alone forever. And like that fear is going to prevent the next thing regardless. Like I don't know. I think that people self-fulfill prophecies with themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of work that needs to be done, whether you're in a relationship or you're not. I think that the growth should be the goal at all times. I think people should be living with intent. They should be doing things that is going to get them to where they want to go. And where they want to go sometimes looks like you're going to be alone for a while, right? Sometimes it means that you have to find somebody that has your same level of spiciness that you're going to be able to mesh with. Like, you know, maybe you fucking need to heal. Maybe you're alone because of your trauma and the way that you respond instead of react, or react instead of respond. There's a lot to that. It's a lot.
There's a lot.
I wonder how this episode is going to do.
Yeah, this is not where I expected all of this to go.
I didn't expect it to either.
Yeah.
But we don't, you know, I had an idea of what I wanted the conversation to look like, but this was way more interesting than what I thought. So
It's not scripted either, so.
no, it's not. I always have bullet points.
Yeah.
Whenever we do this, I have like, okay, these are things I want to talk about, and we'll take it where it goes. But there are a lot of times where you and I will start a conversation, and that's way more interesting than what I've got going on in my head. And that I would rather be over there than on a
the other
script.
thing.
Yeah. So you have anything else you want to add, Hotness?
No. Nope, that was a lot. I have to use the restroom.
All right. Well, remember, guys, you are the author of your own life.
So grab a pen.
We'll see you on the next one.
Bye, guys.